Today, I want to talk about how big technology companies have failed to serve families. Some of it has to do with the fact that you've seen headlines like this, and like this. The fact is that technology companies have lost credibility when it comes to serving kids and families. The odds are that if you have given your child a connected device, like a phone, a smartphone, you've had to install software on it that made it quote unquote appropriate or safe for them to use. And that's ridiculous. The devices that these big technology companies are giving to us and telling us to give to our kids are not safe for our kids. It's not just that Apple doesn't want to make a kid's iPhone. The fact is Apple can't make a kid's iPhone, or there would be on the shelf and there might already be one in your kid's hand. I'm gonna explain the two reasons. There's two reasons that, frankly, anyone in the media already could have written about and already could have explained to the public about why your kid doesn't have a kid's appropriate device. But first, why would you care about what I think? Let me tell you a little bit about myself. 5 years ago, I did something crazy. And by crazy, I mean, I went against all of the advice that everybody gave me. I talked to dozens of investors, all of my business mentors, my friends and family, and everyone said, don't do this. What I wanted to do was create a technology company for families. I wanted to create a simple device, a kid's smartwatch that had a GPS connection, could do phone calls with an LTE connection to the towers, a simple thing. And everyone said, don't do this. Apple and Google will eat you for lunch. 5 years later, on the journey to creating this rapidly growing technology company, I've become an expert in technology for kids. I've traveled the world, I've raised funding for this company, I've hired dozens of employees. We've built a successful and growing enterprise based on a simple thesis that the big technology companies actually don't see the market here, right? They don't understand the user, they don't understand the problem, and they don't have a business model to address this. So let's talk about what's wrong with big technology companies and where companies like mine, Cosmo, fit into the solution landscape. Okay, so let me explain why Apple and Google are missing the moment here when it comes to family technology. Number one, we have to talk about business model. The fact is that Apple and Google don't make money by selling devices. When you buy an iPhone, maybe Apple makes a little bit of money, but what they really make money on is from your use of the software, your time and attention spent on that device, all the services that you use. Every time you purchase an app, they're taking a cut. All of your cloud storage, all of the payment transactions that you're doing on that device. Apple has their claws into every second that you use on their hardware. And Google, same thing. These are interchangeable companies. They have the same business model. They compete with each other over the same market, okay? But what they haven't figured out how to do is to take that same business model and apply it to kids. Kids are not really money makers in the economy, right? If you have a kid, you know how expensive that kid actually is to you, right? Apple and Google don't know how to make money off of a kid with lemonade cash, right? As a result, they think, why would I sell a piece of hardware to that kid? Or why would I make a bespoke solution for kids when I don't know how to make money from them from all the time that they're spending on my device? And thank goodness, there's a few federal laws that are actually here to defend families and kids from exactly those kind of predatory practices. Selling kids data, hooking them on certain algorithms. And I know you're saying, wait a second, Snapchat, TikTok, but you're absolutely right. And they're appropriately under congressional review. But the fact is that Apple and Google are not diving in and making bespoke solutions for kids and families because there are some laws that just make their business model ineffective in that space. They would have to completely restructure the way that they monetize the user in order to create a solution that works for, say, a 10-year-old kid. Okay, so let's accept the fact that Apple and Google don't know how to monetize a kid. The second thing they don't know how to do is design for kids. Okay, now what I don't mean here is they can't make a cartoon, because they're actually really good at taking scary adult software, slapping some cartoons on it and saying, hey, we made a kid's software product, or we made a kid's thing, right? And that's really not what kids software and what kids products should be, right? You can't take an infinite ecosystem, which is what our adult software experiences are, right? Endless apps, access to the internet, social media, all these things. You can't fence that, right? You can't build a wall around that and say, okay, we've just created this little section over here for kids, right? This is the safe bit. That doesn't work. There are too many ways to break through those fences and walls. A kid is half of the user you need to address. A parent, a guardian, is necessarily part of the product solution, whether that's setting parental controls, adding or approving contacts, setting safe zones and locations. A parent is part of the child's experience of digital technology. Apple and Google don't design for two users. Apple designs for you, Apple designs for me, but they don't have a parent-child relationship that they've figured out how to both make a seamless experience within their ecosystem and then how to monetize that. You have to start from scratch. You have to build a platform from the ground up. And when Apple and Google think about that design problem, they think, well, number one, that's a lot of work. And number two, how do we make money at the end of that? They don't have a business model that will do it. They are enormous ships moving through investor trillions of dollar markets, and they're not gonna shift direction for a speculative idea like, can we figure out how to monetize an 8-year-old, right? That's not their thing. And so what I'm doing and what Cosmo's doing and what family technology companies are doing is starting from scratch, from a platform level and saying, hey, there are some new design choices that need to be made here. And so if you start from there as a foundational principle of design, you wind up with a radically different product solution. This is the great opportunity that companies have to create family technology. It's an unaddressed market. Again, if you're a parent watching this video, you're likely familiar with the challenges of raising a kid in the era of technology. And you're also aware that technology could help you if it was built the right way. You want your kid to have an outdoor, real-world childhood. You want them to come home when the street lights come on, right? You want to push them outside and say, go make some friends in the neighborhood. But parents today feel more and more cautious about the world that's outside their front door, right? When realistically, the world that's inside of their house with all of the screens is likely more dangerous than what's out on the street. Kids should grow up in the real world. Kids should have those experiences at the playground. That's how I grew up. I'm a kid of the 90s, and I remember what it was like to say, hey, come back before dark. But we have a reasonable expectation to still want to retain connection. Connection is a part of safety. The idea that you could get a text message from your kid when they fall off their bike, that's a great thing. The idea that you can set a GPS perimeter and get an alert if the neighborhood kids talk your kid into going one street further than you said they could go. That's the kind of technology that parents want so that they can give their kids that outside childhood. That's what family technologies are all about. It's about reclaiming something that families have the right to, which is a real world outdoor childhood for their kids, and about having the kind of connection that we all feel is integral to safety today. What I'm doing with Cosmo and the journey that I'm on and what I want to start telling you about on this channel is what it looks like to build a business in this space. I think that transparency is something that technology companies lost credibility with. They should have explained what their algorithms were doing. They should have explained their business model. They weren't upfront, and 20 years into this experiment, consumers are rightfully skeptical about their credibility. Family technology companies must be different. So I'm getting on camera, I'm engaging with real customers, I'm engaging with the audience of families in America, and I want to have a dialogue about the way forward. So if you're interested in hearing more about this topic, if anything I've said today resonates with you, and if you want to hear more about what I'm doing in the technology landscape to make technology that's good for kids and families, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.